What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Heretics segment. Kelly, today we are going to talk about a LinkedIn post that went berserk on X this weekend. So here's the context. Amazon did a very large layoff last week. You and I have been talking about big tech layoffs for a while. They're continuing. In fact, I think they're accelerating at many places. And a woman who is a director at Amazon, her name's Rochelle Tate, put this on her public LinkedIn. She said, given the recent layoffs across Amazon and other major corporations, this may be a hot take, but I wanted to share a perspective from someone who's been in the job market for nearly a year and is a proud ex-Amazonian. If companies truly want to attract ex-Amazon talent, there has to be alignment. Many of us are Seattle-based, so roles need to offer true remote flexibility. In today's economy, relocation isn't always feasible, especially for those with families and the risk involved. Compensation should reflect 10 to 15 plus years of experience, and we value clear, efficient interview processes with a defined end goal. It's not just about hiring someone who worked at Amazon. It's about recognizing the level of ownership, scale, and impact that experience brings and building roles and a business model that reflect that. So that was her note, Kelly. What's your take?
Well, first of all, just to keep with the real talk humor, as always, Nolan, I said I am having a case on the Mondays today, for those of you who love the movie Office Space, but I don't know what it is. I'm just kind of like, a little crank today. So this hot take, I was like, gosh, double whammy. It's a good one though. I'd love to talk about it. And first of all, I respect, Rochelle putting this out there. Right? I mean, it's a sticking your neck out post, and not everyone's going to agree. And she said it's a hot take, so it's great that we're talking about it. But I do respect her putting that out there. I think, my headline, Nolan, is, and feedback for Rochelle is this post is full of multiple assumptions, in my opinion, that might not necessarily be true. So let me ask you, first of all, what was the ripple? What was the reaction to this on X that you clearly read through?
Yeah, I saw this image of her LinkedIn post reshared 4 times, at least. Mm-hmm. And essentially this is someone who's out of touch with the market reality. This is somebody who has very high ego and what appears to be an attitude problem. And this kind of feels emblematic of a lot of folks who have been laid off from big tech jobs, that they feel like they deserve more from what the current job market has to offer.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can see why that would be the case. It's interesting to me. I'd love to actually, maybe she'll come on and have a chat with us, but some of these statements just really aren't true anymore. I mean, true remote flexibility, that is up to every company. That is up to every company and is largely over from a true remote company standpoint. I would say the ones that are truly remote today were like that before COVID. That's just who they are, so that was an odd statement. I think, ex-Amazon, I love brands and I love these FANG companies, but not everyone bows down to ex-FANG company of choice. Do you know what I mean? So it's just, again, it's kind of a lot of assumptions in this post, Nolan, and maybe I'm just kind of flabbergasted because here I am 26 years into my career and I'm still afraid of getting fired. I'm still imposter. I'm still shit, do I deserve this salary? So I'm just kind of damn, I kind of wish I had that mindset.
Yeah, look, here's my take is I think this is emblematic of how a lot of people feel. And, we're exiting an era. So there's this chart, and we should do another segment on this, Kelly, but there's this chart that basically shows employment was growing up until ChatGPT launched in 2022, and then it's basically fallen off a cliff. The other thing, people are talking about this online, it's it's a little bit of chart crime because the other thing that happened at that time is that interest rates went up. And so investors put more of an emphasis on profits. It's no longer growth at all costs, right? It's grow plus run a highly efficient business. And so, we went through this whole thing. You and I have covered this a million times. I don't think that memo got to some of these employees. And I don't think they're aware. And so, look, I have so many friends that are unbelievably talented that can't find the job that they want right now. I know you're in the same boat. Like, we have a mutual friend. It took her a very long time to find a job. And, if you think about it, ultimately, in a market right now, like, the employer is in control. And so
Yes.
putting this out there on her LinkedIn, one, is certainly not going to help her. Like, I think that's like super obvious. I've been telling a bunch of my friends, I'm like, you should be going through people's LinkedIn posts, their comments, their ex, like everything, right? To figure out like what this person is actually like. So I don't think that's going to help. The other kind of like orthogonal take, and I've had this kind of like cooking for a couple of years, and my timing's been wrong, but I think it's ultimately going to come to fruition. I think the next era of social unrest is going to come from tech workers who are making hundreds of thousands of dollars per year, that had great jobs, that were working, 40 to 50 hours a week, that no longer have those opportunities. And it's in the form of all things. Compensation's lower, work is harder, remote is gone, all these things that we offered people during the Great Resignation. The rug has been pulled. And I can see this next era of social unrest really coming from these tech workers who built their lives and candidly a lot of their expectations on ZERP era stuff.
Yeah.
And you and I both know, I mean, you're grinding, you're back in the office. I'm working my ass off, right? And I'm working harder than I think I've ever worked. And it's like, if we're doing that and other people don't expect to do that, I think reality is going to be very, very challenging.
Yeah, you were kind of touching on something I was thinking about before you started, and you're right. Like, I logged into Riverside to start this today. Nolan's on the horn, like, put up his finger, 2 minutes grinding, and I'm like, great, I have fucking 2 minutes. I'm gonna go grind on something I was doing. Like, I guess for me, and this is independent of this post, but it hits on some of the things I felt when reading her post, is exactly to your point around expectations. Like, I never have them. I'm always like fighting, grinding, proving, networking, helping others. I think you hit on something really important where it's like, just because you did something for X number of years somewhere doesn't mean that you just deserve to have it all the time without maybe having to give up some stuff or adapt or compromise. So that to me is maybe it's how I was raised. I don't really know what it is, Nolan, but to your point, for me, I'll be really honest with you, it wasn't hard to find this job. But there is a reason for that. It's because you're always paranoid. You're always hustling in some capacity. You're always helping people and like connecting with people and doing things outside. I just think you're right. Like, if I was at a FANG company for 15 years, the worst thing you could do is live in that cocoon and never look up and out. We've talked about this before. It's no surprise. So again, just the assumptions, it's not good.
Hey everyone, we'll be right back in a moment after a word from our sponsors. AI changes how work gets done. Recruiting is no exception. Metaview is the AI platform purpose-built for recruiting. If you're looking to level up your AI adoption and see real impact from intake to offer, it's a no-brainer. Metaview's suite of AI agents works for you at every stage of the hiring process. Their platform powers instant job post creation, AI-powered candidate Q&A, insights on pipeline performance, compensation, and so much more. I've seen firsthand how tough it can be to extract consistently high-quality data from candidate conversations. I've been in candidate debriefs where interviewers told us about their feelings instead of what actually happened in the interview. And I've seen VPs and CEOs block hires because they didn't learn anything from skeleton scorecards. Metaview changes all of that. For every candidate in every pipeline, bring radical efficiency and precision to your hiring process with perfect data from every conversation. Metaview covers all of your compliance needs, works with all of your existing tools, and takes less than 3 minutes to set up. Join talent leaders at more than 3,000 elite companies like Brex, Deel, 11 Labs, and Quora, and check out Metaview. Just head over to metaview.ai/heretics to talk to one of Metaview's product experts or get started for free. You'll be up running and AI enabled in minutes.
Dude, I know, but so here's like, I actually really get where she's coming from. And it kind of feels like the contract between employer and employee has changed so fast that people's mental models haven't had time to update. I think another good analogy here is like what's happening with colleges, right? So this is kind of like the barbell situation. On one side, you have new grads who can't find jobs. And they were told by their parents, their teachers, people who influence them in their lives, if you go to a good school and you get good grades, you will have opportunity. That's not true anymore. That's objectively not true. Then on the other side, for people who have put in their time, right? It's like you had to put your time in. You had to grind when you were in your early 20s. Like you had to keep grinding. You had to work your way up the corporate ladder. But once you get there, right, life's going to be a lot easier. That's the story my dad told me when I was a kid. That is also not true. What's also not true about that second piece is that if you go work for a name brand company, the Googles, the Amazons, the Netflixes of the world, the next job you find will be easier because of the halo effect that brand has. That's also not true anymore. In fact, I think it like sometimes works against people. Like if you've only worked at dope companies, right? The perception from, especially, in our world, Kelly, early stage startups is like, well, you haven't gone through real adversity. You don't know what it's like to not work at a non-monopoly business. Like you don't know what it's like to compete against the monopolies. And so like, you're off in the ivory tower when we're in the trench warfare. And so there aren't analogs. I'm not saying that that's true necessarily. I'm just telling you that that is what the soundbite is.
Well, there was a belief.
I don't think people get it.
It's hard to get it if you haven't lived it, experienced it. And I was raised the same way, right? Even career-wise. It was almost like sold as making tenure in academia. Like at a certain point, you're golden. You can't be fired. You can't do this. You're going to be taken care of. That is completely not the case. And I'll be honest, I was thinking about it last week. I was like, geez, been working forever, live in the Bay Area, still not enough. Here we go. Kids, houses, what am I doing? But honestly, Nolan, that's why a lot of people I know, they're like, listen, I'm going to leave and I'm going to go buy a house in Texas or some other state because I don't want to feel that anymore. And that's some of the fork we've been seeing with people too in this time. We talked about it like a year ago, I think, where, this new phase has accelerated people's thinking about what do I want? And there has been a bit of a fork in the road with people ejecting from tech or whatever it is and being like quality of life. And I think that's a fine conversation. I've thought of it too. But the bottom line is has changed. And if I almost would rather see a post of like, shit, I wish I would have done X, Y, and Z like 10 years ago while I was working at these companies so that I wasn't feeling like this, which I empathize with. And I have a lot more variety of choice.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what needs to be true moving forward is everyone needs to re-underwrite the fundamentals of this market in this point in time. The stuff that was happening from essentially 2012 through early 2022 is over. Some of those vestiges still apply, but I think a lot of them are slowly working themselves out. And it's just like a stock picker, right? It's like if you are an analyst of a stock and something has dramatically changed in that business or in the market conditions, you wouldn't just, blindly keep buying. You would re-underwrite it. You would say the fundamentals here have changed and I need to apply new logic to these fundamentals. And that's what's going on in this job market. Like it is tough. It is so tough out there. I still don't think mainstream media really understands like how brutal the tech market is. It is incredibly cutthroat. There are great people that do not have jobs that are been out of work for a very long time. And it's going to require sacrifices in some way, shape, or form that are different than what you had to sacrifice as part of this last run up. The last thing I'll say on this topic is, the old adage is like expectations minus reality equals happiness. And I think if your expectations are really high going into this market, you are going to be deeply unsatisfied with what you're met with on the other side.
Yeah, and again, I just want to end as well by saying, I mean, I empathize
Yeah.
with Rochelle, and I've been there. It's very frustrating. And to use your stock analogy, the last thing I'll say is I don't care if you're at a FANG company only for 30 years, but you got to hedge your bets. You have to invest in a variety of different stocks. And even if you work at the same place for 30 years, Amazon or other, you can hedge your bets in a variety of ways through networking, through assignments. I mean, I personally like taking stints in early stage and FANG company. I mean, you just get all of these different pathways, and it does hedge bets.
Yep. That's good advice. So we're rooting for you guys. Keep us posted on how it's going. We'll talk to you soon. HR Heretics is a podcast from Turpentine, the network behind Econ 102, Moment of Zen, and Turpentine VC. Subscribe, 5 stars, share it on Apple, YouTube, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts, all the things.